Hello and welcome to this special edition of To The Point. We are in Leh right now and I'm in conversation with the Chairman and Chief Executive Councillor of the Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council, Mr. Rigzin Spalbar. Thank you, sir, for talking to us about television and welcome to The Point. My first question, of course, well, let's start with the Autonomous Council itself. It's been a while now since it's been formed. Because you're the Chairman and the Chief Executive Councillor, you'd be in a better position to tell me, has it really worked? Giving Ladakh the Autonomous Council it needed, has it made a difference according to you?
Yes, of course, it has indeed. Prior to the formation of the council, Ladakh was merely administered through an administrative officer, an IS officer, who would come either from Delhi or from Srinagar without even ever having seen Ladakh, which in all respect, as you have seen yourself, entirely different from what our country is. Our country is a tropical country, and for all practical purposes, Ladakh is Central Asia. Right. And it's such a huge, vast area where in winter, temperature goes down to minus 35, 40. Can you someone imagine in Delhi, a place like Ladakh? So that way, after the formation of the council, the people, the representative, they have started working. It has made a lot of difference. No?
So you think having a person who's from Ladakh, knows the people, knows the topography, obviously helps in better administering the region, which obviously has its own challenges.
Yes.
So how long have you been the chairman and the CEC now?
Earlier also once I was the chairman for 1.5 years. Now this time again it has been 1.5 years and I'll continue to be so for another 3.5 years. Then we'll have the elections. But then as you said, ours is a tropical country where we look for the technologies and technique suitable for a tropical country. And in Ladakh for the last 65 years, the technologies of a tropical country was being implemented
which
over
wouldn't
here,
really work here.
which never worked. And you would see in winter, everything comes to a still, nothing works over here. Whereas for Ladakh, technology should have come from Central Asian countries, Russia, from cold climatic conditions. And we have seen in all these cold climatic countries, everything works in winter as well. So here we have realized now we will have to go as per different technologies, different things. There are so many scopes, so much of scope and potential for Ladakh. Ever since council has come into existence, we have started taking initiatives. We have a vision for ourselves. We have in fact even formed a vision document for Ladakh, Vision 2025.
Yeah, we keep hearing about this vision document 2025. Would you like to elaborate a few salient features of this vision for our viewers?
If I sum it up, it's the sustainability factor. You see, Ladakh was cut off for rest of the world for centuries together. The only trade links were with Central Asian countries and Tibet. There were no roads with the mainland, you see. So here we used to have one crop season. People will grow on their agricultural land
for about 5 months.
5 months, one crop season. And the rest of the people used to eat like ants, nothing else to do. Still in the history of Ladakh, you will find no cases of starvation death. There was poverty, of course, but then nobody died of starvation. Now with the coming under the government of India, with lots of PDAs and lots of other materialistic items coming over here, there is a possibility in future that it might lead to starvation, it might lead to dependency, it might lead to unsustainability factor as well. Right now you can see the boom, the growth, every respect, because you have the tourism, you have the presence of armed forces that helps the local economy, and you get subsidized ration items over here. As long as these are there, it's well and good. Imagine Ladakh without these three things. You'll be left with nothing. Therefore, our priority is to make Ladakh a self-sustaining society as it used to be earlier. Right. There is so much potential and scope in it. You would have heard of the Kashmina, the Kashmir product. In India, Ladakh is the only place where Kashmir goats are there and best quality Kashmirs are available. But Ladakh is still at a raw material stage.
Right. You talked about the self-sustaining economy for Ladakh. Obviously, you worked really hard for that in the past years as well. Tell us about whether or not, after the formation of the Hill Council, has the centre been as forthright and as forward as they had promised, say with funds, for example? Are you satisfied with the amount of funds coming into Ladakh via the Autonomous Council? And do you think they're enough, or do more funds need to come from New Delhi?
As I told you in the beginning, there is so much scope and potential. There are so many things can be done, that is not enough. But yes, on the other hand, ever since the council has come into existence, lots of things have moved, lots of things have come. Now we are coming up with the different projects, proposals to the center government, at the state government as well. Things are moving, things cannot be done overnight. But we are in touch with the government. They have been helpful. They have been supporting us. But rightly pointed out, now go to Delhi and other places, they don't have ready-made solutions for Ladakh. Now,
So you're saying you have to come up with internal solutions?
Yes.
People in Ladakh have to come up with solutions?
Yes, we have to come up with technology, solutions and proposal for which we are demanding money from the central government and the state government.
And are you getting this, the kind of response you want from New Delhi and say Srinagar, or would you like the response to be a little better?
We are getting responses. They are very good responses. But the kind of support and money which we should get for a place which is almost 70% area of the J&K, if you take Ladakh total in its totality, where you are supposed to be developing the area, not the people. But in terms of population, it's very less, But then when you get the money in a country like India, you get it on the basis of population. If you take in terms of population, we have no population. But then this population is scattered over an area of nearly 70,000 square kilometer.
So has that hampered it? Because the Ladakhi population is very scattered and not dense at all. Has that hampered
Developmental activities?
That, and has that hampered also getting funds, convincing the center and the state governments to release funds, because even though the population is sparse, but the funds that you need are equally important. Has that hampered the efforts?
It does. But then when we go and convince them, they understand also. Right. They have been releasing funds, but it is not enough, to be very frank. We require much more than what we require now. For example, you take our plan size is just 60 to 65 crore rupees plan allocation. What can you do with this annual allocation for our district plan? Besides that, of course, you have many other schemes as well, but it has to be really given a huge hike. Okay, the council came into existence in 1995, but along with the council, the expectations of the people really grew very high. It should have been supported with funding as well, whereas in funding, it did not increase. Right. It has been getting merely annual step up like 10%, 15%, that's all. It should have been given some substantial hike in the allocation as well, so that we are able to meet the expectations of the people as well. Right. Funding is required very much.
Right. So you're saying that more funding is required, of course. We'd like to speak about the economy of Ladakh for a bit. Also, the main driver of the economy, tourism. But that's after a short break. Yes. Don't go anywhere. We'll have lots more with Mr. Spalbar after this short breather. Welcome back. You're still watching To The Point, and I'm still in conversation with Mr. Spalbar, the Chairman and CEC of the Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council. Sir, we talked about the self-sustaining economy of Ladakh. Its main driver seems to be tourism. Tell us a bit about how well tourism has picked up after the council came in, and has it taken a turn for the better once the Hill Council was in place, and any initiatives that you've taken to bring in more tourists, especially international tourists, which drive the economy?
I would like to make few things very clear, Our policies, we would not like to be turned into parasites. Right now, with this PDS supplies coming, tourism growing up with the presence of army, economy is really growing very high. But I feel this is not sustainable. Tourism might collapse any day, any time. Everybody knows that. And PDS supply, you never know what happens in plains in Punjab. There is drought or flood, it will stop coming. And with peace coming all over, who knows, the army must be withdrawn from here. Imagine Ladakh without these three things. In the light of this, we were thinking of sustainability. Local resources can be generated. There are so many potentials. I talk about Kashmir with value addition. We can generate so much of revenue. Seabug thorn, the wonder drug berry. Right. China makes more than 500 items out of it. We are still at raw material. It's grown in wild. Nothing is done over there. The horticultural produce of Ladakh is world known. We are still at raw material stage. Similarly, the vegetables and all over grown over here is all organic. There is so much scope. We can generate so much revenue. Even if something fails tomorrow, we will have the inner strength to continue with that.
But so
for those purposes, we require money.
Why do you think, is money the only problem in delaying such infrastructure to be built in Ladakh, or are there other systemic problems according to you?
This is the money.
The main thing
give us the money, give money to the council, I will show to the world that it can be done. Within 15, 20 years, we can raise our revenue. We have been getting merely 65 crores annually. With the internal resources, we can raise our revenue to minimum 250 to 300 crores annually.
Just the Ladakhi revenue?
With Ladakhi revenue.
That's quite a big figure.
I envision, I foresee a day when we need not to go for begging for money. Right. We will have the inner strength. It will strengthen the country. Ladakh strategically is so important, so vital for country. You see, it's located at two borders,
Very
two of
important
our
borders.
hostile nations, eye to eyes with them. You'll have to strengthen the financial condition of the people residing at the borders. No missile, no gun, or no armed forces can secure your borders unless the people residing at the border areas are given strength and power to guard your borders.
So you spoke about industries as well. You spoke about the sea buckthorn, which is obviously very rare. Ladakh has abundance of it.
Yes.
Do you think setting up industries is the way to go about it? By local people, by generating employment in Ladakh,
Yes.
Ladakhi people setting up industries here as well. Why hasn't that happened? It can't just be the money. There has to be some initiative from people, businessmen from Ladakh as well. You think they've come forward enough, or do you think more efforts need to be done there as well?
You see, if you have money, everything can be taken care of. You can give training, you can give workshops, you can get the technology, you can have the project. I already have the project ready with me. I do not have the money. I have submitted the projects to the government of India. I hope it will come through. Similarly, I have entered into an MOU with some of the industrial houses. I'm going to start this year onwards. We are not only waiting for the government to give us money, I'm looking for independent investor to Ladakh also. It's all open.
Could you share the names of the investors who've shown any interest in Ladakh and setting up industries here?
Yes, certainly. To begin with, as far as the Kashmina produce is concerned, we are looking for investors who would come and increase the yield of the goats. In China, the yield they get out of each goat is up to 600 and 700 grams, whereas at our place it is still 250 to 280 grams. And the local people, the nomads who rear these goats, they live in conditions, if you go and see them, it is pathetic. Minus 35, 40, and they live in tents. Their income is just meager. And they produce the best quality of pashmina in the world, and they get nothing out of it. All the middlemen and all the business people, they take the money. There's so much scope. The money can work wonder here. We will make things happen. We have the project, we have the vision, but we will have to
So
support
you
it with
mentioned
money.
the annual
Yes.
allocation of about 65,000 crore. What, according to you, is the correct figure that Ladakh should be getting? Give me a ballpark figure. I'm not looking for specifics. What, according to you, in your capacity as chairman and CEC, would you think would be enough for Ladakh as an annual allocation?
For Ladakh to develop such a huge area, the minimum for the plan I'm saying, annual allocation for Ladakh should be 250 crores.
That's the
Minimum.
figure you have in mind.
Yes, that should be there. Besides this, of course, we have been getting funding in other sources. Now, recently, Government of India has announced this 250 crores for Ladakh under the task force. Special task force has been formed for Jammu and Ladakh as well. They have recommended money. We have got the first phase, 50 crores. But then you are spending this money for all the sectors, all the departments. When you distribute it, it comes to nothing. And to infrastructural index cost in Ladakh, for how much a bag of cement you get in planes? Here it costs 600 rupees for a bag of cement. The transportation costs and logistical supports are so expensive over here for everything, every matter. So whatever you are able to do it in planes for 1 rupee, here it will cost many 20 times
20
more.
times extra.
20 times more than.
Right.
So
Obviously.
whatever money give it to us, if you give us 100 crores, it is equivalent to only 30 or 40 crores.
Right, right. So let's talk about a bit about the other parts of the state. You, of course, are part of J&K. Do you see a difference in how Jammu has developed over the past 10 years, say from 1995 till since the Ladakh Hill Council came into being, and Srinagar, of course? Do you see a difference on how these two cities compared to Leh have moved forward? Do you think they've outrun Leh, or do you think they are around the same plane?
No, they have got access and approaches. They are open around the year. 65 years of independence, we are still deprived of an all-weather road with the mainland. Right. For 6 to 7 months a year, we are closed with the rest of mainland. It is even difficult to survive in a place like Ladakh in winter. It's so harsh. People most of the time come here in summer, they find it so pleasant, so fantastic. But ask we Ladakhis how difficult it is to survive. And the Jammu and Srinagar, they have access, better facilities. And the kind of money which the Jammu and Srinagar has been receiving, with that money, I personally feel things should have been much more better than what it is now.
Right.
But then they are not doing bad either now. They'll have to do, you have other factors as well. If you take in terms of Kashmir, the peace, it was struggling, it was suffering till now. So we cannot compare Ladakh with Kashmir. Here we have absolute peace. There is opportunity to spend, to develop.
But do you see a discrimination sort of when the center gives, say, funds to Srinagar or Jammu for development? Do you see them getting more and Ladakh being left out, or do you think that has been slightly streamlined now?
See, earlier under Gadgul's formula, all the states were given money on the basis of its area. Our state too have been receiving money on the basis of its area. When you talk in terms of area, Ladakh is nearly 69 to 70% of area of J&K. So major chunk of funding which you get from the central government is on the basis of area. Right. While coming to the state, they allocate it on the basis of population only. Okay, now we can't say that it should be only area. That would be too unfair. But then area should be given a special consideration while further allocating the money. That has not been done by the state government. But with the new coalition government coming up, they have been really considerate. They have been considering all these cases, and we have been getting much more funding, much more scopes in various fields like tourism and other state sectors. Even if we get lesser money under the district plan, through the state sector, like in tourism, we have been getting enough money.
Right.
That has made a difference.
At this point, we'll take another short break. We'll come back and talk about the biggest achievements, according to you, of the Hill Council since it came into being, especially since you took the reins. We'll come back after a short break. Stay tuned. We'll have a little more conversation with Mr. Sabgyal after this short breather. Welcome back. We're still in conversation with Mr. Rigzin Spalbar. Sir, we were talking about earlier how the Hill Council has come into being, and obviously, according to the aspirations of the people, it has managed to somehow move into the space that it had envisioned when it came about. If you would very kindly for us, tell us the three biggest achievements that you think are the biggest achievements of the Hill Councils ever since it came into being, especially if you want to elaborate on since you took over chairman. Three biggest things that you think are achievements of the Hill Council.
Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council came into existence in the wake of an agreement signed between the central government, state government and the representatives of Ladakhis as an interim arrangement until you have a final solution to this Kashmir vexed issue.
Right.
We got the council, the mere purpose is to fulfill the aspirations of Ladakh as per their local conditions, local cultural background, etc. Now, first and foremost thing for us was to have a vision, have a roadmap to how to go about it. Earlier, it was like day-to-day existence, you never know what is going to happen tomorrow. You have no plan, you are waiting for things to happen.
There was no forward planning.
There was no forward planning. So first thing I did was to have a vision document as per the aspirations, wishes, cultural background of the people for 20 years. Now that plan is approved. According to this plan, they talks about the limitations of Ladakh as well as the strength of Ladakh as well. As I already mentioned you earlier, there are so many scope and potentials in Ladakh to make it self-reliant. Earlier it was self-reliant. Of course, with poverty, people are by and large happy, it's all right. There was lots of poverty, but then no starvation death. Future also, we would like to have a kind of Ladakh. It's a unique place for India. It's a proud place for India. If you think in terms of, similarly, it's such a fragile place. Environmentally, it's a very fragile, huge area with a definite carrying capacity. It cannot be thrown open like anything for everybody.
Right,
it will be spoiled
absolutely.
in no time. So for that purposes, what we felt is Ladakh, we are seeking for happiness as well simultaneously. Like rather than more than gross domestic product, we would like to have something like that which is talked about nowadays is gross domestic happiness.
On the lines of the Bhutanese.
Where we have the old cultural linkings, the moral grounds and other things are there for which we have framed this document. Now to translate it into realities. For that purpose, what we have done is now we have tuned in to adjust it into the 12th five-year plan.
Right.
We have done that when we have submitted it to the Government of India as well for approval under 12th five-year plan. Now here, what we have ensured is, in the aftermath of the council, is accountability, transparency, punctuality, work culture, morality, all these things we have been able to ensure. And we took the delivery to the people's doorstep, to the villages.
And you think that has succeeded, the transparency and accountability? Do you think that has seeped into the people's work culture as well?
Yes, even otherwise, traditionally, Ladakhis are by and large God-fearing. We have a very good culture.
Deeply spiritual
deeply
people,
spiritual people. Now with the opening of the world, with the rest of the world, like everywhere else, all these things also comes over here. So it's a struggle against, those things as well. So we have been able to evolved a transparency, work culture, accountability, and taking the delivery mechanism, government to the people, to the villages, to the doorstep, to their doorstep. People need not run here and there much. We further have decentralized the authorities and powers of the council through our councillors, through sarpanches and local bodies as well. That has been great achievement of the council.
So you're saying decentralization of power has actually happened because
It
there is
has.
councilling?
It has. It has helped the people, and the day-to-day grievances of the people is resolved at local level. They need not wait for time. These are being done. And the land, allotment of land. Earlier, people never used to get land, etc. We have distributed land to the people, for construction of houses, for agricultural activities. And education, we have taken lots of steps. Education is one of the most priority sector of the council.
Right.
And we have started pre-primary schools in the government, on all the schools. No government schools has this pre-primary schooling everywhere else. We have made it compulsory.
Since you mentioned housing and you mentioned the aspirations of the people, Ladakh has also seen a lot of natural calamities in the recent time. There were flash floods, there were cloudbursts, a lot of people lost their lives, lost their property. Do you think, as an administrative body, you've been able to restore and rehabilitate those people to the best of your ability, or do you think there's certain, it could have been done better? Do you think, how many people were affected, first of all, if you could tell us, by the flash floods and the cloudbursts?
That was an unprecedented situation for Ladakh. Nobody had ever seen it or heard of it, Though Ladakh falls into high risk zone in earthquake, high velocity wind, and of course in winter it's terribly cold. And the kind of flash flood we saw last year. I must thank the government of India and the state government, the kind of prompt responses they gave us, they support us. I think that has helped us a lot to recover. Now it's just been 1.5 or 2 years. You can hardly make out that we have passed through that such a magnitude of risk, They gave us good support. There were lots of losses everywhere, unprecedented.
Have those people been rehabilitated by the government or by the body as well?
Yes, yes. All those people who died in their next of kin were given compensation. We built houses for those people. Their houses were washed out. We cleared debris from the agricultural land. We renovated irrigation schools and other areas. You may go yourself and see it for yourself. In that manner, the Prime Minister himself, the Chief Minister, and who is who of Delhi and Srinagar, they almost came over here and supported us. But then for future, the mitigation, we'll have to do a lot.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen with this kind of climatic changes taking place in the world. We'll have to gear up for that.
Always be
and
prepared.
We have no such provisions as yet, but we hope to do that with the support of NDMA and with other government
I wanted
agencies.
to talk a bit about the political landscape in Ladakh. It's unique from the rest of the country, considering that the politics here is relatively clean. It's not as dirty as politics, say, out in other states of the country. And there are only 3 major political parties here, the BJP, the Congress, and the National Conference, apart from little splinter local groups as well. Why do you think, what do you attribute the cleanliness, the relative cleanliness of the politics in Ladakh as compared to the rest of the country? Do you think because the people are deeply spiritual and they don't indulge in so much of real politic, if I could call it that, do you think that's the reason why the politics of Ladakh is relatively clearer and less muddy than the rest of the country?
First of all, I'll think that it is the heritage. We have this culture of cleanliness in Ladakh. Secondly, ours is a small society. Whosoever indulges into mischief or some murky things, he'll be exposed the very next day. He cannot carry ahead with his politics as well. So these are the reasons, Plus, there is a strong urge and commitment amongst the Ladakhis to do something for Ladakh, to bring it on par with the rest of the country, and to save Ladakh from future, all this, from getting overwhelmed with the kind of, nowadays opening of Ladakh with the rest of the world, we might get even overwhelmed to save environment, save its culture, ecology, etc. There's a strong commitment amongst the Ladakhis. But then with passage of time, other things are also coming slowly. But then being a small community, it's in one way, there is an inbuilt mechanism which prevents people from indulging into corruption and mischief, because he will be exposed the very next day. Absolutely. These are the reasons.
And Ladakh is a relatively corruption-free community, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's why I'm talking of our heritage. It has been like that.
Right. So let's also talk about a bit about slightly controversial topic. You mentioned that the agreement between the state government and the centre was till the Kashmir issue was resolved, the Autonomous Hill Council will take care of the aspirations of Ladakhis. Uh, in a hypothetical scenario, for example, tomorrow, if the Kashmir issue does have a solution, do you think the people of Ladakh, in your opinion, in your independent opinion, do you think the people of Ladakh would still want to be autonomous of, say, the state government and the central government as an autonomous body, locally administered? Or do you think once the vexed issue, like you called it, has a solution, would you like to come back into the fold and be governed, say, from Srinagar or Delhi?
Ever since the country became independent, the strength of Ladakhis has been the same. It has never changed. It is to club it with the mainland.
Right.
So the demand of Ladakhis has always been union territory status with legislature.
Right.
That has been so, and that will ever remain so.
Right. So no secessionistic tendencies here.
Nothing
fully,
at all,
fully,
nothing.
fully compared. I mean, fully enmeshed with the capital and
Yes,
New Delhi as well.
yes.
Well, that's a very comforting thought, sir. My last question to you, sir, would be if you have any message to give through the medium of Rajya Sabha television to say to the people of India, not just the government and the people of India, what would that message be? Say in a 2-minute message.
Ladakh is pride of India. It's a unique place for India, which you do not have any other place of India, you know. We all have to save Ladakh, its environment, its ecology, and you'll have to save the people of Ladakh by strengthening them through economically, by providing more support and strength, so that we are able to guard the frontiers of the country, you know, stand to the Chinese and Pakistanis, you know, and make our country strong. For that matter, I request the whole countrymen to give us strength in every respect.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful thought, sir. Of course, like our honorable guest today said, gross domestic happiness is what Ladakhis are aiming for, not just a gross domestic product. Of course, more money is required from not just from the centre and the state governments as well. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on To The Point. Till next time when we get to another special edition, another special guest, this is Athar Khan saying goodbye and thank you for watching.